Hello everyone, have a nice day. Today we'll follow Jack and Tu Tien as they take Mom Ly out to the Tet market, hoping to lift her heavy heart and bring her smile back. If you find this story interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Mom Ly's fingers hovered over a tray of candied ginger, but she couldn't bring herself to pick up a single piece. The Tet market around her was a storm of color, red lanterns, gold couplets, baskets of oranges stacked like small suns, yet her face stayed pale, as if the noise couldn't reach her. People brushed past with laughing children and bulging shopping bags, and still Mom Ly stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the sweets like they belonged to a life she no longer knew how to enter. "Mom," Jack said softly, leaning in so only she could hear him. "Look at me." She didn't. Her gaze stayed forward, watery and far away. Tu Tien stepped closer on Mom Ly's other side, her hand hovering in the air carefully, like touching the wrong place might make Mom Ly break. "Mom, just breathe. We're here. It's only us." Mom Ly swallowed hard. Her lips moved, as if she wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Then her shoulders dipped in a small surrender, and Jack felt the weight she had been carrying without saying a word. He tightened his grip around the shopping basket and forced his voice to stay warm. "We came for one thing," he said, trying to coax her forward. "To steal one laugh from you. Just one." Tu Tien nodded quickly, eyes bright with hope she didn't want Mom Ly to see. Even a tiny one. For a second, Mom Ly's mouth twitched almost a smile, but it vanished the moment it arrived, like a candle snuffed out by wind. Jack didn't push. He turned his body slightly, positioning himself between Mom Ly and the crowd. A quiet shield. Then, gently, he guided her hand to rest on the edge of the basket handle, grounding her in something real. "Come," he murmured. "Walk with us." And finally, Mom Ly took a step. That morning had started with a silence so thick it made the house feel smaller. The rice cooker clicked, and steam rose into the cold air of the kitchen. Tu Tien set bowls on the table with extra care, as if neatness could keep sadness from spilling over. Mom Ly sat in the living room with a cup of ginger tea, staring down at it like it held an answer. Her eyes were tired, too tired for a woman who had spent her whole life being strong. Jack came downstairs, already dressed, hair neat, watch fastened. He paused when he saw his mother's face. No questions, no lecture, just a quiet, steady look. He sat beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Light but firm. "Mom," he said, "we're going out today." Mom Ly's first reaction was a small shake of her head. No, too crowded, too cold. Tu Tien appeared at the doorway with a scarf in her hands, speaking softly. "Mom, you've been holding everything inside. Staying home makes it heavier." Mom Ly looked at Tu Tien for a long moment, like she was trying to remember how to accept kindness. "I don't want to ruin your day." Jack's jaw tightened, not with anger, but with the ache of hearing her say that. "You can't ruin anything," he replied. "You're my mother." Tu Tien stepped forward and draped the scarf around Mom Ly's neck, careful and gentle. "Just one trip," she coaxed. "We'll buy a little candy, a little fruit. We'll look at flowers. If you feel tired, we go home right away." Mom Ly's breath trembled, but she nodded. A tiny nod that felt like a door opening. Jack stood immediately, as if afraid she'd change her mind. "Good. I'll get the car." Now, in the market, that door was being tested by noise and memory. Tu Tien tried to make it easy by pointing out familiar things, guiding Mom Ly towards small choices instead of big feelings. Mut dua, Tu Tien said, gesturing to coconut candy wrapped in clear plastic. Mom used to buy this, right? Mom Loy's eyes flickered. Your father liked that, she whispered, and then stopped like she'd said too much. Jack pretended not to hear the crack in her voice. He lifted a pack of roasted watermelon seeds and placed it in the basket. Then we buy it, he said lightly. For Tet. For the house? Mom Loy opened her mouth to protest, but Jack cut it off gently. No wasteful today. Tet is once a year. Tu Tien added a bag of candied ginger, the kind that warmed your throat and calmed your stomach. This one is for Mom, she said, trying to sound cheerful. When the weather turns cold. Mom Loy stared at the bag, as if it had been chosen by someone who truly knew her. Her eyes softened only for a second before she looked away. They moved to the fruit section, where tangerines glowed under fluorescent light. Tu Tien turned to Mom Loy with a hopeful smile. Mom, what fruit should we bring home? Lucky fruit. Mom Loy hesitated. Then, quietly, tangerines. Yellow ones. For luck. Tu Tien's face brightened instantly. Then Mom picks, she said, placing the decision in Mom Loy's hands like a gift. You know how. That was the moment Jack saw it, Mom Loy stepping forward on her own. She lifted a tangerine, checked the skin, turned it in her palm, then chose another movement practiced, almost automatic. A memory of who she used to be before worry turned her into a shadow. Jack watched without interrupting. He simply stood close, ready to catch her if the sadness returned. They bought a modest bag. Not too much. Just enough to make the kitchen look full again. Then they reached the flower corner. Peach blossoms, pink and soft, filled with tight buds, were stacked in tall buckets. The petals looked like they were waiting for a warmer day to open. Mom Loy stared at them longer than she meant to. Tu Tien's voice dropped to something tender. Mom, do you want a branch? Mom? Loy's lips parted, then closed again. Her eyes shone with something dangerous, hope mixed with grief. Last year, I chose my own. Jack stepped closer and pointed to a branch with a strong shape and many buds. This one, he said. It'll bloom right on time. Mom Loy's hand lifted slightly, then stopped, trembling. Tu Tien took a careful breath. Mom, she whispered, choose with us. Mom Loy blinked hard. Once, twice. And then, for the first time since they arrived, she let out a small sound, half laugh, half sob, like her heart didn't know which one it deserved. Jack felt his chest tighten. He didn't look away. He just stayed there, steady, as the Tet market kept spinning around them, waiting to see if that tiny laugh could grow into something real. Mom Loy's hand finally reached out and touched the peach branch. Her fingers brushed the tight buds like she was checking whether they were real. The tremble in her wrist didn't stop, but her shoulders loosened just a little, as if the branch had given her permission to return to the season. Jack didn't rush the moment. He simply nodded to the vendor, paid, and asked for the branch to be wrapped carefully. Tu Tien stayed close, watching Mom Loy's face the way people watch a candle in the wind, hoping it would keep burning. When the vendor tied the branch with red ribbon, Tu Tien whispered, Mom, it's going to bloom beautifully. Mom Loy swallowed and let out a breath that almost sounded like relief. If it blooms, she murmured, then maybe everything will be fine. Jack's jaw tightened at the word maybe, but he kept his voice steady. It will bloom, he said, and you'll be here to see it. Tu Tien's eyes flicked up to Jack, grateful, affectionate, a little in love with the way he carried heavy things without dropping them. They continued through the market, picking small items that felt like home. A pack of tea, a bundle of incense, a few red envelopes Tu Tien insisted on because Tet has to have red. Mom Loy didn't protest this time. She even pointed at a simple gift basket, nothing extravagant, and said quietly, "That one looks nice." Tu Tien blinked in surprise. "Mom wants that?" Mom, Loy's lips curved faintly. "Your uncle's in the countryside. They like these." Jack lifted the basket and placed it in the cart. "Then we buy it." For the first time that day, Mom Loy gave a sound that resembled a soft, brief, almost embarrassed laugh. "You two," she said, shaking her head. "Always making decisions like it's easy." Tu Tien leaned in, playful but gentle. "Because today, Mom doesn't have to." The clothing shop was warm, bright, and quiet compared to the market. Mom Loy stopped at the entrance as if she already knew what was coming. "No," she said immediately. "I don't need anything." Jack didn't argue. He didn't say, "I'm buying for you." He simply turned to Tu Tien and spoke like he needed help. "Tu Tien," he said, "choose something for Mom. I want to know what colors suit her." Tu Tien caught his meaning instantly. She nodded, then took Mom Loy's hand lightly. "Just try," she coaxed. "If you don't like it, we leave." Mom Loy hesitated, then let herself be guided. Tu Tien picked a coat that wasn't flashy, just elegant and calm, the kind that made someone look dignified without trying. She added a soft scarf, warm in a gentle color that didn't scream for attention. Mom Loy changed in the fitting room. When she stepped out, she stopped in front of the mirror like she didn't recognize the woman staring back. Tu Tien's smile was immediate. "Mom, you look so beautiful." Mom Loy turned her face away too fast, blinking hard. "Stop exaggerating." Jack stepped beside her, voice low, sincere. "Not exaggerating," he said. "Mom, you've been strong for so long that you forgot you deserve softness. This coat is soft." Mom Loy's throat moved, as if she was swallowing words. Then, unexpectedly, she adjusted the scarf herself, neater, straighter, and said, "It's warm." Tu Tien laughed, relieved. Warm weather is perfect. At the cashier, Jack paid, while Tu Tien folded the old scarf carefully into the bag, like it was part of Mom Loy's history. Mom Loy watched them, and something in her eyes lifted like she was realizing she wasn't alone in the wait anymore. Jack's phone vibrated once in his pocket. He glanced down at the screen for half a second too fast for Mom Loy to notice, but Tu Tien saw the flicker in his eyes. Jack quietly turned the phone face down and slipped it away, choosing peace over panic. Tu Tien didn't ask. Not here. Not today. By evening, they were home. The house smelled like warm tea and steamed sweet potatoes. The wrapped peach branch rested against the wall, waiting to be placed in a vase. Mom Loy sat on the sofa in her new coat, hands around her cup, looking like someone who had been returned to herself slowly, carefully. Tu Tien brought out the snacks and lined them up on the table. "Look," she said, proud. "Now it really feels like Tet." Mom Loy stared at the table, then at Tu Tien's face. A small smile formed, this time it stayed. Jack moved the peach branch into a tall vase. Tu Tien tried to hang a red decoration but fumbled with the string, and it slipped, bouncing off her wrist. She made an exaggerated, shocked face, and Jack chuckled. Then Mom Loy laughed. Not loud, not long, but real. Her eyes crinkled at the corners, and for one sweet moment, the sadness didn't own the room. Tu Tien's chest tightened with relief. She sat beside Mom Loy and leaned her head lightly against her shoulder, careful not to overwhelm her. Jack watched them, his mother and the woman he loved wrapped in the same warm light. His phone vibrated again, faint and persistent. He didn't reach for it. He just looked at Mom Loy's softened eyes, at Tu Tien's hopeful smile, and made a silent vow. Whatever was coming, tonight he would protect this laughter.
Hello everyone, in this episode, Jack noticed Mom Loy sinking into quiet sadness as day approaches. So he and Tu Tien decide to take her to the Tet market to change the air around her heart. In a crowd of red lanterns, sweets and fruit, Mom Loy first freezes, overwhelmed by noise and memories. But Jack gently shows her why Tu Tien guides her with small, safe choices. Mom Loy slowly begins to participate again, selecting lucky tangerine and finally touching a peach blossom brand filled with pearls. A symbol of hope that might plum on time. They buy simple taste treats and a gift package for a relative. Then bring Mom Loy to a cloth shop where a new coat and a scarf become a quiet reminder that she deserves warmth too. Back home, tea and sweet potato will fill the room as Mom Loy finally laughs small and but